My Gavan and Melonin, and well met indeed. I'm Uruk-hai Galadhon, head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer. Welcome back to Divide and Conquer as we continue on as Isengard. Saruman is leading an army from Isengard itself. He's got Hormarath of Deer with him, he has got Ashukter with him, and an army of fully outfitted Uruks, or at least half-orcs. He is heading north, where he shall link up with Ugluk's force, capture the small town of Rockburg, and head north to Caras Galadhon. In the east, we are chasing Captain Timbrethil away from Calenhad and holding Gondor until the Lothlorien has fallen. The Hornburg is also training some troops. Don't really know what we'll do with them. We'll send them somewhere in time. Edoras has a small little army available to it as well, but otherwise we are ending the turn. Now, behind the scenes, things in the modding community, the wheels are turning swiftly at the moment with so much free time and so many available testers and most of the modding team being available at the moment as well. And changes have taken place. Big change has taken place this week specifically that many people, I think, some might lament, most will be absolutely lauding from the rooftops, and that is that the Corsair invasion script has been removed from the game. And the reason the Corsair invasion script has been removed from the game is because it was added a long time ago as a method to try and get what was then the Corsair of Umbar faction to actually get involved in the game. Back then, there wasn't this sort of highway, coastal highway, if you will, that allowed them to walk up the coast to Dol Amroth. And they also weren't particularly keen on raiding with their navies either. So the Corsair invasion script was cooked up as a way to get Umbar into the game and as an additional way to add some difficulty to Dol Amroth, because at that time, Dol Amroth was one of the easiest campaigns in the game. There was very little threat, you completely outclassed Harad, they were no trouble, and Harad always boxed Umbar in, so you only ever had one enemy and you were better than them, thus it was easy. So it was cooked up way back then to make that change. But of course now the Ar-Adonayim, Harad and Khan all attack you. And the AA send troops by ship anyway. So they didn't need this additional scripted support, if you will. So that was one of the reasons why it's no longer needed. The other reason why it's no longer needed is because the Dol Amroth campaign is now quite a challenge, as many people have mentioned. And almost everybody rushes Umbar because otherwise the invasion attacks you. And the most surefire way of not dealing with the invasion is to simply remove it. And so you would head to Umbar to take Umbar, which would ensure that you then weren't invaded. And almost every single report that we have seen suggests that every player essentially does that. They just rush Umbar. Even Gondorian players were reporting that they rush Umbar, at least with a side army, to make sure that they don't get invaded either. So the invasion was less of a difficulty factor and more of just a frustrating annoyance that forced you into one play style. And so we discussed it as a team. We thought, hang on, why are we actually using this script then? Does any of us actually think this is worthwhile? Oh dear, do we actually want to fight this? Dumbledore host, headhunters, oh they're good. 5 missile, and their morale, and we've got no troops, so no, we're going to die. Let's just let them die. So we asked ourselves, does anybody actually want this? And the resounding answer has been, no, none of us want this. There's no point to it anymore, and it is just an annoyance for players, and we don't want to shoehorn you into going for Umbar. And so one of the best ways of doing that is just to remove that necessity. So the Corsair invasions have gone, except the attack on Midland, which not only has remained, but as of this very day that I recorded this, which was yesterday when you're watching it, and if you're watching this in the future, this was months and months ago. But only yesterday, or today as I record it, oh, I'm so cyclical, we changed and amended the Midland attack. Blimey, so many places assaulted. So that the Midland invasion now, A, does not come out of the blue. There is now a 20-turn build-up to the invasion. And there's a couple of events that happen in the 20 turns before they actually invade. So you get massive amounts of warning. But they do now attack more than just Midland. So there's more... It's riskier, but you get more warning is the point. Right, Saruman is going to arrive just as Rockburg falls, which is perfect, because I don't really have any intention to fight in those small, pathetic armies. We're trying to push through to Caras Galadhon, which is the goal. In the west, sorry, nothing's really going on. But we could take buildings that give us money. I'll take that and the blacksmith. Let's go through, starting in Derweth. Oh, Isengard, Beast Breeder, yes please. Hold on, Beast Breeder, you're just the second tier of Troll, aren't you? Yeah, you don't actually do anything. Boar Breeder, go with the Boar Breeder. I'll come back to Isengard as well, because there's changes here for Isengard. Some of you may have seen if you're on the Discord and looked at the preview thread. Others may not. Oh, Edoras has got things to go. Give us a prison. Barracks, practice range, slave quarters. I'll take a temple. You can just queue everything up, really, can't you? Oh, Edwide, you've got loads going on. I'll take a merchant's wharf, Uruk Armory, slave hall. Yeah, that'll keep you going for a long time. Aldberg, you're a little closer to the front lines. Let's give you something, some military. Ah, Callanhad, perfect. Uruk Armory. Once you finish with that, give me a barracks and a catapult maker. Oh, and you can retrain. I don't know what we're retraining for. Something down here does something, but we won't know. And Derweth, we're back to Derweth. So, as we end the turn again, the Ents have returned to the game. So, the first thing I must clarify is that I'm not going to do, or we, the team, are not going to do an Entwife script. It was something that I did think of with the introduction of this new forest in Dorwinion. It seemed like it was a way to go, given that we knew we were bringing the Ents back. But in truth, it's unnecessary. You'd have a weird situation sometimes where elves would be fighting Ents, which would just never happen. And there wasn't really a way we could implement it without it just being here's an Ent garrison or having roaming Ents. And it just wasn't... There's problems with roaming Ents. The AI doesn't really deal very well with rebel armies in its territories, particularly ones as powerful as Ents. And so we didn't really want to create any kind of issues and concerns with that. So there are no Entwives. But the Ents are back. However, they no longer... The roaming armies that dot around Fangorn Forest are just now completely removed from the game. Previously, there wasn't a system whereby... Oh, we got 2,000 gold coins. Previously, there was a system whereby if you entered Fangorn Forest, then Ent armies were dynamically moved into the forest, and then you'd fight them, and then they were moved out again. And I just thought that was a... Again, it was one of those situations using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. And it's just not worth it. Is it worth having a monitor constantly running to check to see if someone's moved into the forest just so that you can fight against the Ents? It just wasn't worth it. I'm going to leave that army in Rockberg because it looks like Dol Guldur aren't done with what they're coming for. And speaking of Dol Guldur not being done, let's move our garrisons out as well. Because you know those annoying buggers are going to be coming for... all of our regions, but we can quite handily keep them at bay, and we'll send alerts out to deal with Dol Guldur, who's have earned themselves a place on our hit list. So we shall be going for them. So Saruman, you're going into Galadhon on your own, I'm afraid, because Rockberg, we can't really afford to leave Rockberg at the whims of Dol Guldur, who will constantly throw troops at it. But, so the Ents now do attack Isengard only. It's the only time that you will now ever see the Ents is if you play as Isengard. But what we've also done is change the way they spawn. Previously, they would spawn when you built the third tier of a specific logging camp building in Isengard. But no matter how good we made that building, it never justified you losing your capital. Because the Ent script is designed for you to lose your capital. We throw a lot of Ents at you, and only the most readied player would defend Isengard against the script. It's a lot of Ents that come at you, and they're very powerful. So it's designed to win. And under the previous script, you could simply avoid the Ents by just never building the third tier of your logging camp. And given that, as I've already mentioned, we couldn't make the logging camp good enough to justify losing your capital, it seems to me that no player would really ever build it anyway, unless if people were particularly role-playing or something, but that's one in a million, I don't know, a very small number. So instead, we opted to change the script, and now you will be attacked, whether you want it or not, when your nation attains certain goals. And at the moment, it's set to provinces claimed. We're going straight in, I think. We're going to move straight on Galadhon. I'm going to avoid Erutulchian and just try and get past him. We'll cross the river and we'll hit the town. Although if we attack him, will he run away? Yes, he will. It gives us another movement speed. It means we can get to the town on the next turn. And we didn't bring any siege, you damned fool. Now they'll attack us outside the city and we won't get the battle map. That's annoying. Although I note that they've not moved an Ossan Drychan out of a Drychan. So if we leave a small garrison and move over to that bridge there, we might be able to actually push out and take a Drychan. I would very much like roads. That would be swell. Thank you. And if you could throw in some culture buildings, that would be grand. The eastern side we are just going to hold. If Gondor come for us, let them come. We'll fight and we'll defend and we'll hold well. But if they don't come for us, then so be it. We'll sit there and wait until we can move our armies out over there. So at the moment it is set for... The Ents script is set for... You capturing 8 regions. So as Isengard, once you've captured 8 regions, the Ents will attack you. The Ents have their own catapult unit now that was added to the game as well, because it looks a bit too weird giving the Ents... The options were to give the Ents a normal catapult unit, like commanded by humans or elves or something like that, which I think was just... That wasn't very good. And the other alternative is to allow the Ents to siege the city for one turn so that they build siege equipment. But then having Ents climb ladders, siege towers, and wield a battering ram, I think just looks too silly. And I think the lesser of all the evils is to give the Ents catapults, so they fire those. Then you at least get breaks in the wall as well, so it looks more like the Ents have actually attacked the walls. And then you can storm in. Well, you won't do the storming in. They will do the storming in. Erebor has fallen because there's been a successful invasion. Do we know who took it? Angmar. Angmar has claimed Erebor, would you believe? We've got enough of an army in Entwade and Onodrith. Let's, if you've got some troops that have been restored to full health, if you'd like to head out with those, we can start a reclamation process against Dol Guldur, methinks. We can't grow Isengard anymore. 13,348 people, it's starting to get a little full. We've made it to Galadhon. Now, Galadhon doesn't have any towers, which lets it down substantially, so the defense is quite simple. It also only has a simple gate. The siege tower doesn't actually do anything, so we won't be able to use that. But I think in the interest of not just simply sieging them out or them attacking us on the field, we will attack straight away, and we'll give it the best we've got. Which does make me think, actually, if we sack off Rockburg and move our Gluck in, he can get there on the next turn, and then we've got the 2 armies as we'd hoped. So the Onodrith army, if we move you all up to Rockburg and Lurtz can command you from there. What can Onodrith train? Oh, quite a lot, actually. So take the lot. You all go to Rockburg. Lurtz is coming through.
We have completed an objective.
The Entwide army, that's not really worth it, is it? You can follow along as a sort of garrison-ready force. Leave a couple of Uruk raiders behind, but you guys move up to Rockburg as well.
We have completed an objective.
Oh, we only make 1,000 gold now. We're reaching the limits.
Get ready for fighting.
So, unfortunately for some of you, we'll think, oh, that's naff. Now we know. Now we're definitely going to get attacked by the Ents. There's no way around it. But to be honest, by the time you've claimed 8 regions as Isengard, it means you are beating or have beaten Rohan. So it's the perfect time for you to then have to deal with massive internal strife. And it's just cool, isn't it? It's one of those events that actually happens. So to try and replicate it in the game, I think is worthwhile. I think it would be good fun. Speaking, if I may as well, of the Balrog, which is something we are going to do, the second Balrog. We did a little poll on the Discord and there was overwhelming support for a second Balrog. And I've seen a lot of people say, no, you simply can't do a second Balrog. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's law-breaking. But this is one of those small little windows of opportunity we use when creating ideas for the mod, in that nowhere, to my understanding of Lord of the Rings, which is not unsubstantial, nowhere does it say that Durin's Bane is the last Balrog alive.
No sleeping here.
So, whilst it also doesn't say that there's another Balrog, it does not, therefore, suggest that there isn't another Balrog. And it's that small window of uncertainty that we slip Divide and Conquer into. So The fact that we don't know if there is another Balrog that escaped Beleriand is what we're using to have a second Balrog.
Pick your feet up.
But of course, that aspect of the script is entirely optional. So if a second Balrog totally breaks your immersion, you simply just don't bother capturing Buzz-Radum. I mean, you won't need to. It's quite far away from your empire, and unless you've attacked the elves, you'll never go that way anyway. And if you have attacked the elves, then you've already signed up to the alternate version of Middle-earth's history, because you have turned the dwarves of Ered Luin evil, or rather neutral. A lot of people... we are going to attack Caras Galadhon, by the way. Oh, we have overwhelming victory. Ugluk, yeah, you can. The AI can control you. We'll send you guys in first. This battle might go slowly because there's a lot of units on the field. But the Ered Luin ring script, and this is something I'm probably going to say until I am no longer on the modding scene, but it isn't evil or good. The choice isn't choosing good or evil. The choice is choosing good or neutral. I've seen a lot of people suggest that we should try and link it to Mordor more, with some people even going so far as to say we should have Ered Luin ally with Mordor if they accept the script. But I, again, stress, it isn't an alliance with Mordor, it is simply a pact of neutrality. You will agree to be neutral in the affairs of Middle-earth, and in turn they give you some of the Dwarven rings back. That is it. And then the inherent effect of the rings works on you, which is that in the dwarves the rings kindle a greed, an overwhelming and insatiable greed in the dwarves who hold them, and that greed turns you to attacking pretty much everyone. But that is also the reason why, which is another thing people have been requesting, that is also the reason why you don't ally with Angmar, because it is neutrality. You are not allying with the evil forces, you're staying out of everything. But anyway, let us have a brief moment, a brief scan around Caras Galadhon. Caras Galadhon is one of those older maps that could do with a little touch more love, I think. You will note it has already had a substantial amount of love, and it's got these walkways here, which are completely usable by the defenders. But only a human player would ever really use them. But the entrances are these towers at the back here, and then you walk down the paths, and you can stand archers up here and fire into your enemy, which is very handy. We also, or RK rather, sorry, also added a gate, so there's an actual gate here now. But there's still a few thematic aspects of where, for example, the wall just ends over here, which is just ridiculous. Why did they not have the wall go all the way around? Just little visual things like that just don't really make sense. Also, because obviously this is a slightly older version, this hasn't got the Elite Dwarf's newer trees. But anyway, let's go for it. We need to smash down the gate, because otherwise Ugluk can't get in. But as I say, there are no actual defensive towers here today, so we don't have anything to fear other than fear itself. Alright, you guys go a bit closer. If we can shoot some of the elves out, we'll shoot some of the elves out. The Nazkai, definitely get you up to the front door. Let's slow it down so we can move our troops in. We've got a unit of trolls, and they can go in with the berserkers. Don't get the trolls to run, though, because they'll run into our own units. The wargs probably won't be used here today, and then finally we've got our mass horde of militia. It's very annoying that the AI doesn't move until the gate's down, because it means they're going to sit over there for this whole time, wasting all this time. Oh, I should have turned the battle timer off as well. They're wasting all this time, they're going to sit over there, and they could be walking towards me at the moment. So that's annoying. But it's nice to have them on the field. And here's our enemy, the grey hordes of Lothlorien, with some green and silver sprinkled in there as well. They are starting to shoot back at us. Bedioe Engelaith, one of their best units. In fact, it is their best unit, I think. Is that Celeborn's bodyguard? I think it is, and that might be Celeborn standing just there. They're wasting their shots, of course, by firing them into their own trees. But what can you do? Unfortunately, I can't really show you the tops of the trees. I can turn the UI off, but I can't... Oh, there you go. There's some buildings up there. It looks nice, doesn't it? The heart of elfendom on earth. That's what Haldir says in the film, isn't it? I don't know if he says that in the book. I don't know the books well enough to be able to quote chapter and verse. Some people can. I can't. You don't need to be able to quote directly from the book. A very famous saying in training to be a lawyer is that you don't need to know everything about the law. You just need to know where to look it up. Now, I've been told that by so many lawyers. And it's very much the same with any sort of fantasy fiction that you like. Don't feel bad if you aren't able to quote exactly from the books. You know exactly the page reference for everything. Just simply know roughly where to look it up, and then you'll be good. Right, we want to try and make a sort of beachhead. So get the pikes out of shield wall, out of that formation, sorry. And let's run... Those guys go around that side, you guys go around that side. And the half-orcs come down the middle here. Got the berserkers. You guys run a bit further around. Trolls. Come over here and then go for those elven defenders for me. You guys go with them as well, and you guys go over there. Nazkai, if I can get you to come down the middle. We send our Shuktur in as well. We're going to try and surround the enemy where best we can. Get the trolls to run in. Then the enemy is at least shooting itself. Unfortunately, that knockover doesn't really actually do any damage. They'll all stand up again, as you can see there. And I don't think the game has a concept of sort of oh well, no, there must be a damage concept, because if you pepper an enemy with arrow fire, then that will eventually weaken them. You'd hope anyway, but I don't know. There was a lengthy thread that someone posted on a comment in the last video, which very handily explained in complete detail how the game calculates the attack and defense stats and how they all apply to one another.
If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
Now, I expect we absolutely will smash the enemy. This is going to be a win, but we will take a lot of losses because they are elves. And elves are damned fine fighters. That looks like that should be up on the roof, shouldn't it? Oh no, they're like lower buildings. There's Lothlorien's much improved town centre flag. The cool sort of sword on the northern tip. Northern tip? You could describe the north of a flag? I don't think that's the thing. Right, unfortunately, we can't actually go round the edges. For some reason, that doesn't appear to be a passable terrain. But we'll give it a whirl. Also, we appear to very much have had the gate problem. We've got quite a few dead at the gate. Is that from arrow fire, or have you run into your own selves? The Nazkai. Can you walk over there? Yes, you can. Oh, brilliant. Round we go then. We need to get round the back and shut down the archers because they are still firing. Otherwise, it's just a line, two lines meet now. You guys move into position. We didn't get the pikes involved in the end. Ugluk is now storming in, but all his troops will do is cause a mess.
Very much in our favour. Victory will be ours.
Can you throw... Oh no, throw them over there. Throw them over there. Go on. Ugh. Wrong. Yeah, come and stand here. Oh no, there it is. Oh, absolutely brilliant. Keep firing, keep firing. Ignore me. Ignore my movement command. Move them round. Move them round. Come on, we want to go back and watch the Nazkai. Oh, they did it again. Have you got another volley? Yes, we've got another volley. Don't worry, everyone. Terror of the Nazgul as the fire bombs fly. They could do with being a touch stronger, though, couldn't they? They didn't really get any kills until they start actually with melee. Anyway, we've broken round the back. Go and hit those Elbreth Sentinels. You hit the Berio Engoliath. We've got 2 more units coming round. They're going round as well, one hopes. Who's that there? Galadhrim Swordman. Turn and hit them. You're on them. You're going down the hill on them. It's all going rather swimmingly, and our archers haven't even been used. You might as well turn off because you'll end up just shooting us. There we are, the Nazgai are out. Is that our own pike units going in there? Yes, it is. And they've charged their wargs in. Victory is almost a certainty, but the enemy, not very many of them have died, and there is a huge group of them there. Oh, our right-hand side. If we can Let's go around there and support them. There's our General's Bodyguard unit, looking fantastic. As the armies move in. There's the Nazkai. They are peppered. The enemy must be shooting. How is the enemy still fighting them, though? You guys go around the edge. They're surrounding the swordmen. So we've one on the left. The right-hand side could... The Lorien sentries have beaten the Berserkers. That's ridiculous. Send in Ashok. See if we can squeeze through those trees. Yes, we can. Although it looks like he's gone in first, so he's just run off to his own death. But that's fine, that's fine. He's very much a secondary commander. It's a real shame again, isn't it? Just as I complete my Dorwinian campaign, we then make a grand overhaul of Dorwinian, and it would have been very worthwhile showing them on the channel. And then just as we are coming to... We're in the last days of the Isengard campaign. I mean, we've still got probably a good couple of weeks left. I am still going to go for my targets of Dol Guldur and Minas Tirith, and to kill Lothlorien, because I'm enjoying the campaign. I carry on as long as it's always fun. But just as we then make an overhaul to the Isengard Ent attack system, I am already playing as Isengard. It's damned a nuisance. But that's why, at least with the Ered Luin campaign, you will get a full view of many of those changes. The barracks event will be will almost be pretty much ready to go in the next couple of weeks, I would have thought. It is really coming together well. Very minor tweaks have been necessary, and not very many of them at all. So things are looking up there. And then I hope to do the Buzz-Radum reclamation this week as well. So there'll be at least something new and different in the Ered Luin one. But I'm mostly disappointed about Dorwinian. I really want to play Dorwinian with their new change, because it's so much cooler. I mean, in practice, really, it's not all that different. The choice remains the same, although it doesn't. It doesn't. We added 3 more human units because the elven and human options were way too imbalanced, and it was just an absolute no-brainer to choose elves. So we added some more variation in to make the human side more appealing. And under the Dorwinian human choice, you also now get Privateer Cavalry, Woodland Hunters, the Breland unit, and Lumbermen, the other Breland unit. And you also get considerably better economic bonuses than you did before. So the human choice is now far more viable. And it gives you a building in Mornethel called the Windan Palace, which I liked that a lot. Right, the right-hand side is soon to fall. The left-hand side is actually holding out much better than I thought it would, fighting amongst the small little bizarre lanterns of Caras Galadhon. The wargs pushing everyone together. But those elven defenders are holding on nicely, and the Galadhrim swordmen, they don't go down easy. The army breaks through the centre. We've just got to get that big clump of nothingness to die, but they're taking out a lot of our forces. At the back, the Berio Yengalite are going down, but the Sentinels are not. Look at how cool that looks. Let's turn off all the UI. Oh, bugger off. Oh, there's a way to hide him, but I don't know the key. But as someone mentioned, if you press F1, as I've just done, it brings up all the keys. How useful is that? You can't change them, but at least you can see what they all are. So, for example, one of them will be hide reinforcements. But I cannot see it. Near the bottom, maybe? Don't know. It's there somewhere. And I've just spent a good, 20-30 seconds wasting your view. But those shields are very cool. Very cool, in fact. And the way they actually line up almost perfectly with the guys looking over their shoulder. Although they don't really do that. There's a little peak just standing in the way there. The front line is fighting and the back line are just chilling. They're just loving life. If people are wondering, I've mentioned this before, but the way that I'm able to turn off all the UI at once is because I have a macro on my mouse that presses 3 buttons at once. That's all it is. To turn off these UI, as you saw from the F1 command, there's buttons that turn off those UI elements, and you've just got to find them. And the way I'm able to turn them all off at once is because I got them on the mouse. So no trickery or modding at work there. It's just having a mouse with macros and having knowing the commands. Right, moving on the enemy at the back there. So we've won on the right now, but we are taking casualties. Although that most of our army is over here. There are a few units left, but that left-hand side is basically fallen. If we can get some of those out, get them to attack as well. Try and push through our forces. What we really need is someone free to support Orthanc Guard. Where's the Nazkai? Oh, you're not doing anything. Come on, come with me. Oh, an enemy general's fallen. Lord Celeborn has died! Would you believe? Would you believe? Was Celeborn the one down here with the Orthanc sentries then? Here they come. The Nazkai will put an end to these elfin bodyguard. Just you wait and see. In they go. Let's try and get them to actually move through the battalion. There we are. Oh, Ashok did die. Oh well. He served well. For the White Hand. Come on, guys, lop his head off. So, Celeborn was the Berio Goliath, and he is gone. And with him, the small, dwindling force of holdouts over there. But the Nazgai now are put to the task of finishing off these sentinels, and they are doing the job. We haven't lost a single one. Count Dalgian is gone. Just as they have absolutely massacred those sentinels. There's only about 5 or 6 of them left. The Nazgai move in. Oh, good block from this fellow. And another swift block. Oh, he's all over the place. It's like watching lightning at work. Let's give him a better death. He's finally succumbed. Oh, a blade through the head. Imagine that blade going through your head as well. It would rip your head in two. On to the last 4. Who has the stuff? Oh, there's a 5th down there. This gentleman's holding off quite well. He's just endured an attack across the back. Oh, but then a second one, and he can't hold on anymore. Down he goes. Oh, and this fellow falls to a prod to the ribs. Bit of an ignominious way to go, but down he goes nevertheless. This gentleman has finished someone off, but they're all fighting uphill now. It's completely stacked against them. One-on-ones are doing them favours though, but the Nazgai are slowly creeping in. And out of... Again! This one is just picking them off. He's just out here having a laugh with his friends. It's not even a challenge. Now it's 5 against 1 up here. While his friend watches on. Oh, they're circling in. He's going in for the sneaky kill. If he walks slow enough, the enemy won't know he's there. He's getting closer. He's getting closer. He's moving in. Oh, this one's having... He's like, move in, you slow bastard. This gentleman, though, is parrying every... Oh, just as I mentioned that. The kiss of death. Down he goes. One to the shoulder. And the last man bravely defending off against the Orthanc sentry, just taking it. The Orthanc guard, sorry. And then the Nazgai showing them how it is done. And with that, if I'm honest, I think that's everyone. Our archer's not even getting involved. Saruman spent the entire battle outside, hiding amongst his men like a coward. We lost 622, they lost 400, and we killed every single one of them. And the most kills... Oh, your army. The most kills from Ugluk was Ugluk himself at 111, proving again he's a formidable general. But our most kills were Uruk-hai infantry with 126. That is an image, by the way, of Turin upon Tuna, which is the Noldor city on the continent island of Valinor. Said to be one of the most beautiful cities in existence. It knows little to no evil throughout its lifetime and is never besieged or attacked. It must get boring, though, being an elf. I just can't imagine living forever. I mean, we are, in Lord of the Rings terms, this is taking place in 3007 of the Third Age, which is at least 9,000 years for most elves who would live in the city that we just saw. They've been alive for 9,000 years by this point. 9,000 years. I mean, 9,000 years ago from our actual time period right now in real life was 7,000 BC. I mean, what was happening in 7000 BC, I ask you, with the pyramids had been built by then, hadn't they? But still, can you imagine the time difference? That's something that I think Tolkien perhaps doesn't cover all that well. Is that in 9,000 years, the basic state of the world's technology does not change. In 9,000 years in our time, you've gone from people... my ancient history knowledge is terrible, I'm afraid. But in 7,000 BC is what? Bronze Age, possibly? People with swords. We've definitely got the bow by then. And to now, we're throwing nuclear bombs at each other. Yet over 9,000 years have passed in Middle-earth, and they're still firing bows and arrows at each other. And the most technologically advanced person is possibly Saruman, because of his fire, which is heavily implied to be gunpowder. And yet, it's taken... He's been alive since creation began, which is something like 36,000 years. And it's taken him that long to think up gunpowder. I mean, what's he been doing the whole time? It's always something that I think I would... One of those questions on my list. What would I ask Tolkien? But anyway, Caras Galadhon has fallen. It's in our hands. One of our campaign objectives. But we must follow it up with the final destruction of the elves. And High March Warden Nethurdir stands ready outside of Limhir, their last remaining province. And it looks like Dol Guldur is trying to get a cut of the action. And they're about to be sorely disappointed when I wipe the floor with them and we press on and take Dol Guldur. But for now, I think that is going to end the episode. The next episode in the rotation is Dol Amroth again. And then we go back and we start with Ered Luin, which means I've only got this week to get the Buzzardum reclamation in, but I think I'll be able to. But for now, that's going to be all for this one. So I do hope you've enjoyed this, and let me know your thoughts on the modding changes. And until we speak again, dear friends, Navar Naden Pedamad Melonin, and farewell.